It has to be permanent. So we're finding a way to be at home in our own skin. Placing the hands either on the arms of the chair or resting on your thighs or folded in your lap. Softening the belly. And relaxing the whole lower body and letting that softening extend through the thighs and the calves to the soles of the feet. Joining our breath, we go inside. Let the healing breath move through you, all parts of your body. One can even have the experience of the breath breathing you. And I thought, I know that many of you are ambulatory and can drive and many of you aren't, and that you are in a time of life where the great questions of life and death are coming up. We're asked in our Buddhist practice to think about them all the time, but at this age, at our ages, there's no choice but to think about them. So to me, that's the kind of nub of practice, is to look at what is this living, what is this dying that we're doing together.
We know from studies that have already been done looking at thicknesses of the cortex of the brain, the rind that's on the outside, that in people who are long-term meditators, that some very interesting areas of the cortex in the parietal lobes and down in the hippocampus, which is the hippocampus is the memory storage, that these areas get thicker, and they get thicker by as much as a millimeter, which in the brain is tremendous distance. And so it seems that there's data that now begins to suggest that a meditative practice begun early and continued on has protective effects against some of the things that we see happening in aging brains, which is loss of neurons, loss of the synaptic connections between one neuron and the next neuron.
Sitting there, you will have a glimpse of beauty inside the body. Before gardens and after gardens.
Let's see, I first started meditating right after World War II, when daily I would climb up a hill and sit at the base of a cypress tree and try to reach that state of being in which the individual is no longer distinguishable from the sun or the sheep or the grasses or anything on the hill. There were a few moments of ecstatic realization of that. It did not carry on into subsequent life. In the intervening 50 years, there was so much activity that meditation became in a sense almost a luxury, stepping aside from the time frame to be quiet.
had a practice of sitting for quite a few years. And I say sitting rather than meditating because I never can recognize that I really meditate. But the whole idea of just opening, getting out of my own way, and allowing another sense to come through me is what I do. And I think that looking back, I do believe that the practice has really brought me through a lot of rough water.
Yeah, well, I found when my daughter died that the quiet support of this group was very, very helpful. It was a rather sudden death, and I missed her very much. Still do. But just this quiet support I felt I got from all of you meant a lot.
It's been an equalizing force in my life to keep equanimity, particularly here where I thought I was coming to retire and my family life bubbled up, so I don't think I've ever had such an active year.
Just breathing, mostly paying a lot of attention to my breath, and trying to quiet the anxiety or the letting the breath go to where the pain is, and it's really been a wonderful thing in these last few months.
Being with my own pace, the pacing I've had in my life, which is changing, and being peaceful with some limitations. Another challenge is caregiving with Betty, and working that so that we're both in a state of right relationship, good relationship.
Mindfulness in some ways is a reminder to make that kind of a deep connection with another human being. Not just for the sake of the person that I care for, but also for my own sake. Because as I'm sitting with you, I'm fully here and I'm not thinking about the next moment and what else I have to do. But I'm with you. And that's a gift to me, being in the now, being in the moment. And that's a gift to you, because you will really notice if I'm really here with you.
These are all the behind the scenes pictures. Oh my gosh, look at those outfits. Can you see that on it? They're pretty foxy. I tell you. There is a description of mindfulness that I think is really nice. It's really short. It's paying attention in the moment, consciously, openly. With elders, a lot of times they don't have the words to explain what they need to explain. We have a lot of people here who are completely nonverbal. So in that sense, you really have to pay attention in other ways, otherwise you're never going to be able to connect with them. You have to watch their face, you have to watch their body movements, you have to listen to their tone. You know, if they're saying something with low energy but they're really smiling, they might just not have the energy to say it more vividly. So that smile says a lot.
I think senior approaches, or the traditional approaches to senior care, are often still based on maintaining, almost for lack of a better word, the biology of a person. So they're very much emphasizing the physical functioning and the physical wellness, which is really important, of course. But they do often fail, or they're not as good in providing the emotional, psychological, and spiritual care for a person who is in the last years of life. You know? And especially in the last years of life, those are really big components of who we are.
Stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's interesting about this instrument is the way it's designed is that all of these notes sound good together. So you can play any note and it's made to sound good. So we can cheat, basically. We can cheat, and no matter what we play, it sounds good. The more mindful you can be with somebody, the more you can learn about them, and the more you can learn about them, the more you can touch them and connect with them. And if you can't connect with someone, there's no way you're going to be able to do, daily acts with them, like showering and helping them eat breakfast. You have to know them, because those are really intimate things that you're doing with somebody.
If to deeply care constitutes somehow the pinnacle of life in terms of the meaning. If I can deeply care for another human being, to a point where I have lost track of time, where I don't even know that time exists because I'm so present with you. That very moment is a moment of,
How come?
I would even call it enlightenment, right? I have forgotten myself. I am so with you, and I'm so with you giving what I can give to you, which is my love and my care. And I don't think there's anything in life that's bigger than that.
I'm aging myself, and I have so much appreciated what I have learned from all of you, and I feel like I actually have to confess, I think, that some part of me kind of had this idea of a group of old people. And that's not what it is. It's not who we are, We're a group of these extraordinarily experienced, creative, honest, afraid people. We're so willing to wear our heart on our sleeves in this group. And I always feel like I'm coming home when I come here.
My life's been entirely different because something comes along and eases me, almost as if it says, don't sweat it, just go with it. So I've lived this long, and I'm going to keep going.